Hello, friends. Welcome to this episode of this podcast series, which can change your life, how to use Qigong for a confident and calm life. I want to welcome my co-host, Nadine Searle, the Calmer Self Coach. Hi, Nadine. How are you?
Hello, Susan. I am good. Thank you. How are you?
I'm doing great. I am so excited about this conversation that we're having. In our last episode, we talked about going from type A to Qigong Zen. And when I was in my type A days, Nadine, first of all, I made fun of anybody who talked about Zen. I never in a million years could ever have imagined a life where I could take in a breath, feel centered, feel grounded, and really even imagine a Zen moment. And so that's why I wanted to sponsor this podcast series. I wanted to have this conversation with you because I feel that this material we're sharing is more vital than ever. How about you?
I totally agree with you. And I think it is that I was a bit embarrassed when I first started stepping into Zen, if you like.
Oh.
There definitely were people in my life that went, oh, what are you doing, woo-woo stuff, you know. So I did keep it a little bit quiet to start with. And again, I think this is really important that we are talking about this, because there will be people that go, well, I do want to do that, but I can't. I'm embarrassed. I was embarrassed. And it doesn't make any sense to me now, but that's what I felt. And to know that actually it is okay, and you can step into it your own way. You don't have to be told, you know, there's people that I used to see and go, oh, I'm not quite sure I want to be like that. I'm not sure if that's for me, but I am doing it my way. And that's okay. So I step into the bits of it that resonate with me, and the bits that don't, I don't do. And that's fine. So we can all find our own way, and it does change your life. It really does. And we are living proof of that, aren't we?
We are indeed. Now, I came to it so much later in my personal development journey that I didn't feel embarrassed, but that is so important that you brought that up, because the embarrassment that came up in you didn't stem, I don't think, from yourself, but rather from what would other people say about going into that woo-woo realm, as you referred to it, which is also in those early days, I was one of those people who would have been mocking it. Oh, really? You know, that's so stupid. Honestly, I really, truly was. I used to be known for saying happiness is overrated. And all kinds of things, you know, making fun of people talking about finding their breath. Now, this goes back, 20 years, of course, and the movement, the mindfulness movement has come a long way during that time. But here you and I are as great examples. We are women running our own businesses, fully supportive as coaches in various ways. And we are strong, sure, confident, and calm now. But we only present this way because of the journey that we've been on for a very, very long time. Wouldn't you say?
Oh, yes, totally. It is. People say that to me, and they must say it to you as well. You know, I can't believe that you were the way you say you were. I've got to be honest, I share this, that sometimes I step back into it. It's still in me. It's still part of me. And again, I feel that, yeah, that's fine, because I know how to get back out of it. So it's fine for me to actually let that, my chaos come back sometimes, my fear, my anxiety, because life does that to us. You know, that's just what happens. But I know that I've got the practice, I've got the tools, I know what to do, I recognize it, I know what to do to step back out, have that. It's empowering. And it definitely, you're absolutely right, that confidence it builds, and the calmness that comes as well, because they're so together.
Well, this actually brings up our topic for today.
Yes, it does.
The topic of today's podcast discussion is yin and yang. And how do you pronounce it?
I say yin and yang, but
that's right.
We all do it our own way, don't we?
Exactly. And this is one of the first lessons that I wanted to share in this podcast today. As I have moved into training to become a teacher of this material, I have learned that there are, in fact, differences. There's differences in the methods and the teaching styles, and even in the pronunciations. But any way, shape, and form, however you say it, the concept that we want to discuss with you today, you actually just brought up in what you vulnerably shared with us a moment ago, which was, yeah, that wasn't planned, but that was, sometimes I still fall back into it. Sometimes I lapse. But you said it's okay because I have my tools, right? I have the practice. And that to me was the perfect example of yin and yang.
Yes,
and
you're
that
right. Yeah.
is, right? And that is balance. It is polarity, what we call polarity, also duality. Polarity is if one side goes up, you're always going to go down, right?
Yes,
Hot, cold.
Yes,
no, right, wrong.
Yes, yeah.
And so in your case, what you shared with us is fall back, move forward.
Yes.
And that is balance. Even as the practitioner, you're not a teacher, but you are a practitioner of Qigong, right? As the practitioner you are, and it's been many years, as you've shared with us in the last podcast episode, that you've been practicing this, you have an understanding that when you fall back into old ways, right, fall off the wagon, as they say, or regress, for all the reasons that as a human, you might fall off, fall back, regress. You know the practice, you know what yin and yang is, that it brings you forward to find your balance again.
Yes, exactly.
Would you say that that would be an apt description?
It's a lovely way of putting it, actually, and I'd never really thought of it that way. But it is, as I said in a previous episode, I was seeking happiness and coming to Zen, which is lovely, but realizing actually that is that balance. It's not just happy. I was scared of my depression. It's not just being depressed. It's actually going, you can be both. And now I have got so comfortable with me, my personality and what it is, to know that actually I welcome in both. I do, when the depression hits again, which it does, it's part of me, I go, okay, there's a little bit of me going, oh, good. Because happy all the time isn't what I want. You should think it was. So it is that balance. And I really feel that balance in every area of our life is so vital. And a lot of people are out of balance, aren't they? In so many ways. So whatever we can do to help ourselves find balance, that is really important. And to know that it is constantly it's a juggling act all the time. And that's fine. It's definitely, we're wobbling, we're doing what we're doing because we're human and life is life. So to actually just go, well, it's okay, I can get my balance back in whatever shape or form, that is a joy. That's good.
So one of the principles of Qigong is body movement. And even as you're saying that,
I was doing it, wasn't I?
I was also feeling, you saw me do it just now.
Yeah, you're doing it,
I was feeling the flow of body movement in the balance of which you're speaking. And also, in this way, we are teaching. And so the way that I say this is, if you only know joy, you know only joy. And joy is one-dimensional. Right? And so contrast serves us. This is one of my transformation tips.
I love that.
Life coaching. Contrast serves us. If you only know joy, you know only joy. It is one-dimensional. Joy is, just the same ocean that you're swimming in. But if you feel sadness, frustration, worry, anxiety, anger, all the things on the negative side of the feeling scale. If you feel on the downside, then joy comes in on the upside. That's the balance. That's the polarity, right?
Yes, I love that. And it's knowing, is it trusting maybe that it's always going to be that way? You're never ever in one state permanently, whether it's joy, whatever it is. It's that it's always going to ebb and flow, isn't it? And I feel that I know what I used to be like. I was always chasing the highs, if you like. That was how I lived my life. But I knew when I had a really wonderful high moment in whatever shape or form, I knew there was going to be a low to come, which actually was a bit of a, oh, what's happening? I knew it was going to happen. But the reverse of that, the balance, if you like, is actually knowing that when I've got a low for whatever reason, I know a high is coming, because that's the way it works. And that is quite freeing, isn't it, to really get that? And again, a message I'd like to send out to everybody: really, really trust that it is true. It's always ebb and flow, always, always, always. And when I was in my fear and my anxiety and my depression, I felt stuck. And this is all about, we do, when we are tense, we hold ourselves tight, don't we? We don't move, we don't do anything. And again, the Qigong that we're talking about, this yin yang, this balance, is about movement, isn't it? One of the moves that we do is flowing up and down, isn't it? I do it all the time. You do it all the time. We are moving ourselves, and it's getting that energy moving. And when we're not in our flow, we are stuck, we are stagnant, we are unhealthy, unwell, unhappy, all of those things, aren't we? So it's getting that movement, and that balance is so lovely, isn't it?
It absolutely is. This, what I've learned, just showing for the people who are watching this video, some people are listening. So I'm just doing a very gentle up and down motion with my hands, just gently up and gently down. And that is something that you can easily do, which will give you a point of focus. And you think that you won't be clearing your mind because you're focusing on your hands, but you're quiet in the focusing on the hands moving up and the hands moving down, right? And so what you said is exactly right. You said when you're always chasing the highest. And when you're always chasing the highest, the word high, right? The polarity side, also the shadow side, is low. And if you understand polarity, if you understand the balance of life, right? I love how you are teaching us that you can trust this. And so as a coach, as I am, I work in what I call apply. And so I want to invite anybody viewing this or listening to this podcast to apply this to yourself. Think of your highs, think of your lows, think of your ups, think of your downs, think of your left, think of your right, and understand and trust this is the natural, as you just said, ebb and flow of life. Now, people might be familiar with the yin and yang symbol, which is sort of like this.
Yes, right? It's intertwined. I can't do it on here.
Exactly. It's a circle, outside circle, and inside there's a swirl. And one half is black and one half is white. And inside the black is a white spot, and inside the white is a black spot. It's the full duality of our lives, light and dark. Right? Happy, sad, right? And this is something, this was such an important concept for me when I was in my deepest days of anxiety and depression, that it was hard for me. And this was before I had been on my, what I call enlightenment journey to the light for me, before I knew these principles, that I could only stay in the bad. And as such, I could barely breathe. So In Qigong, we already talked about the body movement.
We are moving, yeah.
We're moving, and we invite in the breath.
Yes.
We invite in the breath, because when you're in the stuck place, the down place, the low place, the sad place, the anxious place, the depressive place, your breath comes into a sort of shallow state.
It can stop sometimes. I mean, I used to hold my breath with anxiety. Didn't realize I was doing it. So I was not having that flow at all. It was stopped.
Your breath was actually stopped. And so in today, as we think about yin and yang, as we think about the principles, as we think about how this could serve us to go from type A to Qigong Zen, we might want to explore this idea of polarity that you can, see in every area of your life. And as Nadine has suggested to us, you can trust.
Yes.
And then as you do this, you will be able to find your breath, lift up, open up, breathe in, right? And use your breath to get into flow again, out of that stuckness.
Yeah.
So you say that there were times that you almost couldn't breathe. And then how did you move through to understanding that you were in shallow breath mode or really not breathing?
Yeah, it wasn't until I started to actually get that flow and experiment with and it was experimenting. That's what I encourage everyone to do. Play around with what we're saying, because you will find your own way and you'll find what works for you. And then you will have the trust, because you'll go, oh, that worked. If you treat it with a light heart and you try something, you go, that worked. And when I first started doing Qigong, I was actually going, I'm moving, I'm breathing, I feel great. I hadn't really experimented. No one told me to do it. It just came naturally with the movement. It wasn't that I even understood it. So again, I was really blessed to have found that. So it was that. And I didn't realize then that actually in times of anxiety, I was holding my breath. I didn't even realize I was doing it. So it's being in tune with yourself much more. And also I think as well that, I mean, I do it with my meditations quite a lot. I do what you just did. I say breathe in and breathe out, let that breath flow up and down your body. And I can't help but my hands go up and down
Exactly.
too. And it's wonderful to do that. And then, of course, we've got the ocean, haven't we? It's around us in nature. It goes in and out all the time. The tides, high and low, ebb and flow, that back and forth constantly. Trusting, when you start looking around you, when you step out of that little world that you put yourself in when you're in fear and anxiety and stress, when you start to open up in every sense of the word and start looking up and looking down and doing, oh, there's things out there, the trees sway, everything moves, doesn't it, in nature? I stand on the grass in the morning to do my Qigong, barefoot on the grass, that moves.
Yeah.
The earth moves, it moves. But I did not know that. I didn't know. So again, just to say to people, take those little steps, try some of the things we're suggesting. You will feel it. And then the trust will come naturally. Because that is, and I totally understand, I didn't want to do it. If someone had been saying to me what we're talking about now, I would have gone, yeah, really? But I tried one thing, which led on to something else. Like you say, it's the one step. And then it leads on to more, doesn't it? So if anybody wants to do just one thing, we've suggested quite a lot just here, haven't we?
Yeah.
Try one thing, give it a go. Look at a tree. That's a start. Look, really take it in. They move. It's that flow, and nature does that all the time, doesn't it, for us?
It is one of the things that I have been using to support my own growth journey for a very long time, decades, in fact, getting out in nature. And honestly, to the point that we're saying, when I was in my younger type A days, I didn't grow up being out in nature. I didn't grow up camping. I didn't grow up hiking. I made fun of people who were tree huggers. Nature was just simply, I was lucky and blessed. I skated on the frozen ponds in my community. I did ski as a young person with my family. Of course, I went swimming at lakes or ponds or tools. But I didn't have an orientation of understanding how nature serves us. And over the last few decades of my life, this has grown, it has infused me, it has fueled me and filled me and made me so much more conscious of being kind and gentle and loving and caring about our environment. I call her Mama Nature.
Yes, I love that. I love that. It's so warm, isn't it? It's like it's giving you a hug, isn't it? So
it absolutely is.
It's so good. And actually saying that, going back to the yin yang symbol, when I look at that I feel like the dark and the light are hugging each other. That's the suggestion I get. They are so together. So it really, really states, doesn't it, in that very simple symbol, that actually, you know, there's always dark, there's always light. They are together. They are happy together. And they are hugging. That's how I see. I also see movement with that because it's in a circle, isn't it? And I always see movement, and it's the flow that we're talking about, isn't it? So that's what I see when I look at that symbol. It's quite deep for me.
I love this personal analysis of that symbol. I love it. And I love how, again, you're sharing a very simple strategy to look through a different lens, to see this black and white, one-dimensional symbol in these beautiful ways that you've just shared. And this really is absolutely one of the principles, one of the basic principles of how you can go from a frenzied, busy, overwhelmed, anxious, or even depressed life by using these principles. We're talking about Qigong for a confident and calm life. If you understand that when you're in the down, you will go into the up. When you're in the low, you will go into the high. And my hands
to doing the up and down.
Right? I'm doing the up and down, but when the one hand is up higher in the high and the other hand is down lower in the low, what I want to share here today through the concept of yin and yang, or polarity, is where your hands actually come to the same level and they just balance a little bit. Sometimes they're up, sometimes they're down. Sometimes they're up, sometimes they're down. Exactly. And that what Nadine is showing us for those who are listening.
The hands just get flowing up and down, that, and it doesn't have to stay still, and there can be a little bit of movement, and that's just, and you're absolutely right. You just lift your hands up and down gently in front of your body. You feel different. You really feel different.
Feel different. I honestly had a client conversation today that was so difficult. The person is in such distress, justifiably so. And multiple times in this conversation, I stood up, I said, take your hands and put them on your chest, your sternum area. Lift up, lift up, lift up your sternum. And bring back your shoulders just a bit. Qigong is gentle movements. It's slow movements. Lift it up just a bit. And open your shoulders just a bit. This tiny little bit of posture that we focus on, the embodiment, the body movement, is what can be an intentional correction, as I've learned, to begin to move you into the other place, the other side of polarity. And so when this person was in this distressed state of being, I could hear it in my ears. I could feel the energy of it.
You're in tune,
I right then, because now I'm tuned in and I'm trained to hear both as a trauma-informed professional coach, but also in Qigong, where I know that this, placing your hands on your body, it's the idea of breath, of self-massage, that little adjustment that you make stops your shoulders from coming in, down, down, down. And that's where we can begin to invoke the balance a little bit.
Yes. Yeah.
It's not like you go from, minus 100 to plus 1,000.
No, it doesn't have to be a big change, does it? It's that little. That's better sometimes, isn't it? That little adjustment. Yeah.
Exactly. It doesn't have to be a big change. It's just these little adjustments along the way.
Yeah.
Today, we've shared with you yin and yang, or yin and yang, as however you want to pronounce it. The idea is the same. There's balance even in polarity, even in the differences.
Yeah.
When there's good, there's bad. When there's bad, there will be good.
Yes.
And this principle is so deeply important for you to learn and really take in. I want to invite you to listen to this conversation over and over if you need. And I want to ask you one question. Are you still chasing the highest? Are you always chasing the best? Now, don't get me wrong. Of course, we wish for the highest and best for you, but not to always be in the highest and best all the time. That's not human. And if you stay in one place all the time, there will be no contrast for you to feel the good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So true. I love that. And it's just getting that. And like we say, yes, listen to this again, because there's so many suggestions we've put here. Pick one, give it a go. You've made a change. You're on your way.
Absolutely. Nadine, as always, I want to thank you so much for this beautiful conversation. I'm already looking forward to our next podcast episode. And I just want to leave our listeners and viewers with one conversation. Which strategy that you heard today is something that you might consider using for yourself? See you next time.
Yeah. Bye-bye.